This Kirblog topic was suggested by Kudo Tsurugi. If you'd like to suggest topics for videos like these, and if you want to hear me record them in my community Discord server before they release, consider supporting me on Patreon at patreon.com/Kirbifer. This Kirblog is my top 10 favorite endings. Bam, 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 bam. By that I mean songs at the end of anime. Bow, now, 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 now. Weirdly, that's not one of them. But yeah, this was a good sort of follow-up, I guess you could say, to the previous one that I did. I may repeat some points about my thoughts on anime openings in regards to my thoughts on anime endings. But my relationship with anime ending credits themes has changed a lot over the years in the way that my relationship with watching anime and the convenience of it, mostly watching it digitally, has changed. And because back in the day when I watched a lot of these shows, you know, I would be watching them week to week, you know, one episode at a time, maybe 3 episodes at a time if it was on a DVD or something. But I wasn't often skipping them unless I really felt the need to. Then the advent of, you know, DVD box sets where you could have like a marathon feature for shows like Dragon Ball and One Piece, which are both on here, believe it or not. Or maybe it's not that hard to believe. You know, we're skipping over the openings and endings just became more and more common. And even, you know, as time went on, like, and I started watching episodes week to week on, you know, like digital services and stuff, I would find that I wasn't really, you know, sticking around to necessarily watch the credits, especially because often they wouldn't be in English and wouldn't have like the voice credits for me to see or something unless it was the DVD version. And I haven't collected DVD sets of anime in a very long time, sad to say, regarding my old collections that I talked about a few Kirvlogs ago. But that said, there's a lot of anime ending songs. Once again, this is not necessarily like the ending animation itself, because a lot of these are actually slideshow type, like really, really simply animated ending credits. It's the songs themselves that still to this day stick out on my mind. And actually there were, much like with the openings, there were quite a few that didn't make it on the list because I could only pick 10, much like with the opening bit as well. But I picked 10 that I knew like stuck with me for one reason or another for quite a while, that I really quite enjoyed. And actually, in this case, I'm going to go... I don't think I did this necessarily with the anime openings one, but this one is definitely in chronological order. And probably, to no surprise, number 1 is We Were Angels by Hironobu Kageyama from Dragon Ball Z, because, of course, it's a Dragon Ball song, of course. And this dates back to, funnily enough, also the time before I was collecting MP3s of anime songs in general, be it, you know, openings or endings. And this one in particular, I was among many Dragon Ball Z midis that I collected from various, you know, sites that were on the internet back then. And I think I said this also about Chala Head Chala in the previous one, but I used to look up the lyrics to a lot of the, you know, the Dragon Ball songs on websites, like at the time what was called Daizenshu. And I practiced a lot of my early, you know, singing anime songs on because of these Dragon Ball Z songs and the midis that I was able to find on sites. And it wasn't until I think I bought some of my first like uncut DVDs of the Dragon Ball Z episodes at the time that I actually heard the lyrical version of this. So for I feel like at least a few years, I only know I only knew We Were Angels, or Bokutachi wa Tenchi Data is the full name in Japanese. I really only knew it by its composition from like the MIDI, and then finally when I heard it, like, oh, that's how the lyrics are kind of split up between the different parts. Even the last bit of the Niji ga Kakaru, like I didn't even know that that's exactly how it went until I really heard it being performed. So it was funny in that sort of way. And I picked this one. I do love I'll Give You Romance or Romantico Ageruyo from original Dragon Ball. I love all of the GT endings. It was actually kind of a close race between this and a couple of the ending themes from GT, because I love Let's Blast Out of Here. What is it? Sabitsuita Machine Gun Da, which is blast out of here with a rusty machine gun, and You're Not Alone, which is Hitori Janai, and they're all four of them are fantastic. I don't care for Detekoi Tobikiri Zenkai Power, which was the ending credits theme to Z before this. We Were Angels is specifically for the Buu Saga, of course. Never was a big fan of Zenkai Power. That was always kind of my least favorite Z song of like all the kind of main ones. Sad to say. But this one in particular, I never ever get tired of it. It's another like nostalgic one that brings me back to like probably the earliest point in my listening to anime music in general, along with Chala Head Chala. They both kind of take the cake on that, so of course they're chronologically here at number one. And it's funny sometimes, I think that Fighters kind of inspired this, but I always kind of imagine like a really hard-hitting, like faster-paced, like rock version of this song that I feel like somebody like Paulo Cuevas would do amazing at. Like maybe someday I'll do that as like a pet project if anybody ever wanted to do that with me. But it's such a specific thing. I don't know how much this one is beloved to fandom compared to other songs in DBZ, but still holds a special place in my heart. And finally seeing the animation for it on one of those early DVDs that I had was really special. Felt like kind of coming full circle to my early days on the internet and everything, so that was fun. It's a great one. Number two, probably also not surprising, is another one from the same kind of era. It's The Homework Never Ends, or Homework ga Owaranai, from Yu Yu Hakusho, the first ending theme to that show. Now, of course, funnily enough, this is one of the cases where I primarily know the English version of it from the dub, of course, because that was back when Funimation was first starting to do dubbed openings and endings. They don't do that quite so often anymore, if at all. They did that for all the Yu Yu Hakusho ending themes. I think the 5 different ones. And much like with GT I mentioned, I do love just about all of them. There's some that I don't quite like. The 4th and 5th endings are kind of like not quite up there as much as the first 3 for me for Yu Yu Hakusho, but I still love all 5 of them. Sayonara Bye Bye and Unbalanced Kiss are both really good, but there's something about this one in particular. I think this one elicits memories of staying up late to watch on Adult Swim, and then later watching the edited versions on Toonami, and plus them buying the DVDs and stuff as they were coming out. So this is one that I actually feel really, really like gets also the spirit, of the show. In fact, I would even say I love Smile Bomb. Not enough for it to be on my top 10, which is sad to admit. But this song, I think, actually kind of captures the spirit of Yu Yu Hakusho more than even the opening does. It's kind of hard to describe why. Maybe just something kind of stylistically. Like Smile Bomb is maybe a little bit more like lighthearted and poppy. And happier, and not to say that this song it doesn't also have a sense of joy to it, but it's a little bit. It feels a little more badass and cool, and kind of fits the kind of cool feeling of Yusuke and the gang, at least to me, a little bit more than Smile Bomb does. But I like when I think of that, and sad to say, I don't know the Japanese lyrics to this one super intimately, because I think I've only actually listened to the full version of it like a small handful of times in my lifetime. I know that's probably very blasphemic to admit, but it is primarily the TV size version of the English version of it that I know more than anything. And that was also back when Funimation did all new, what's it called? Like instrumentals for them as well. They didn't just have like the karaoke track of whatever the song was from the Japanese version. They actually had to recompose the whole thing from the start and do it that way, which was pretty impressive. It's not a thing that happens officially anymore. Fans do that all the time now, which is crazy to think how simple it is for people to just do that on the internet. But I had to think back to what was one kind of in this same era that came in at number 3. Heart of Sword by TM Revolution from Rurouni Kenshin, which, funnily enough, I also didn't even realize wasn't the first ending theme to the song. For a time, when I was watching Rurouni Kenshin on Cartoon Network back in the day, this was the only song that I knew from Kenshin, because they didn't play the opening to it, so I didn't know. I forget what the super cutesy, happy sounding song from the original opening of the Kenshin anime back in the day. But Heart of Sword, and I believe. If I'm not mistaken, and I didn't even think of this until I was reminded of it very recently, but I must have known this when I had the MP3 back in the day, that Heart of Sword was, I think, my first exposure to TM Revolution, which I love their work from all sorts of different anime stuff, and particularly, of course, the Gundam Seed and Gundam Seed Destiny openings, which they did many of those, and lots of anime openings, all sorts of ones. This was a song, and it's also ironic because I only really even heard like a small snippet, this part right here, from the chorus, because all they were really playing of it on Cartoon Network at the end of the credits was a super quick snippet of it, and then it would cut off. That was it, and then they would just fade out, and coming up next on Toonami, it's whatever. So it's funny. You wouldn't think it'd be one that I'd have that much of an attachment to, but it's one of the classic anime ending themes that I always think of like right away when I was thinking of this list of what are the ones I remember. And maybe in actuality it's because TM Revolution, not because it's TM Revolution, but because TM Revolution just does so many good songs that they would just last in your mind, like because of how well they're composed and performed and everything. So number 4 has possibly the most sentimental value attached to it of all of these. I think that this, if I had to pick a number 1 as my all-time favorite, it is, of course, Dearest by, and I can't believe this, by Ayumi Hamasaki from Inuyasha. I actually didn't, again, if I knew, it was years ago, and I wasn't reminded until just now when I was making this list that Ayumi Hamasaki, who I love the music of as well, did this song. So Inuyasha, let me explain the kind of sentimental value of this one in particular. I would be up, late at night, probably I think it was around midnight that they would air episodes of Inuyasha on Adult Swim, maybe 12:30, during a time in middle school and early high school when I really shouldn't have been up that late, talking to people or not talking to people. I think I wasn't, doing Skype group calls yet or whatever, but, doing, just watching anime on Adult Swim, past my bedtime, basically. But Inuyasha was a show that I associated the most with watching something when I wasn't supposed to, when I was supposed to be asleep, when my parents were probably still awake, and I had to keep the volume just low enough that it wouldn't wake them, and hoping that they wouldn't see the glow of the TV through my room if they walked down the hallway or anything like that. So it's associated with a special time, especially the episodes that these that this song played at the end of in particular. And in addition to that, I just love how, beautiful and dramatic and sincere this song is. Especially another thing during the episodes that it was airing during, a lot of really dramatic, soap opera-y kind of stuff was happening during that time. So often there would be episodes that would end on kind of a dour, bummer note of something awful just happened, and this would be the song that would kind of, like almost make you feel even more sad about whatever just happened in the story. So it kind of enhanced the experience in that sense. In fact, actually, a little bit of trivia. I don't think I talked about this on that big TTA Season 4 live stream that I did a while ago, but when I was just obviously stealing music from anime and video games for the BGM for TTA, because it was before I had actual, original musicians to work with and everything. There was a particular like really big dramatic kiss scene that would finally have happened between Alpha and Flame Girl in the final season of TTA that I never ended up making, where I wanted to use the equally beautiful instrumental orchestral cover of Dearest of this song that they used for various bits of the background music in the actual episodes of the show, because there were in fact, I think that might have been one of the only anime songs from Inuyasha that they did an instrumental version of to be as part of the BGM. They didn't do that extremely often. I should also mention, by the way, Inuyasha, same thing, lots and lots and lots of really, really good ending themes. Like, there were a ton that I adored. Come My Way, and the very first one with the kind of Ferris wheel stuff is, I'm forgetting the name of. They had it as the ending theme to the last episode of the the first Inuyasha anime. Lots and lots of good ones, and lots of good openings as well. But Dearest takes the cake for me, and what solidified it and brought me to fucking tears in Inuyasha the final act. Spoiler alert, in case you ever want to watch Inuyasha, in case maybe you're a recent Rumiko Takahashi fan thanks to the Rama remake. There's a very big episode with a certain character death in the Inuyasha the final act, where they play the instrumental version of Dearest as, and last warning, the scene where Kikyo like crumbles and dies in Inuyasha's arms. And of course, by that I mean like the revived version of Kikyo. The instrumental version of this song plays in the background, and the performance, the animation, the music, all of those elements, and just the heartbreak of it with all the characters and everything just killed me. It's so amazingly well executed, and to have it be this song, which was like a long-standing one that kind of ingrained itself in the sound of Inuyasha's BGM, really helped enhance that even more. So yeah, I love that. That's actually, I haven't gone back and watched that scene since I watched Final Act originally. I really should go back and experience that again, because it's such an inspirational scene, and has really helped to aid with that. So yeah, this is a big one that really, really means a lot to me. It's probably my favorite on this list of all of them. Not that I don't love all the other ones. Number 5 is kind of an unusual pick, but this is from back when I was watching Yu-Gi-Oh! The Japanese episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters, which was the Yu-Gi-Oh! Show that we got first, the first one that we got in the US after the Toei Season 0 Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. This was the first ending credits theme to that show during the Duelist Kingdom storyline. And it's this is one that I associate I with watching those episodes on my crappy bootleg DVD sets back in the day, and I think just because I was so entranced by the fact that Yu-Gi-Oh! Had so many multiple opening and ending themes, and not just the kind of for kids like instrumental theme. That was all I knew from watching it on Kids WB. And Genki no Shower by Aki Maeda, should have remembered to say the name, or Shower of Happiness. It's so sweet and so like incredibly opposing to Yu-Gi-Oh! In theme, but for some reason it has never ever left my memory, and even to the point where like I remember I had like a long running joke with an old friend of mine about whenever I said, I gotta go take a shower, I'd always be like, real quick, I gotta go take a Genki no shower, and they're like, I don't know what you're referencing, and I'm like, I know, because it's only for me. Wouldn't be until years later that I would go on to meet several others that that were fans of the Japanese version of Yu-Gi-Oh! In particular. So not a whole lot to say about this one. Just it's sticks out in my mind from that time of watching these episodes and experiencing. That was my first time experiencing like a very, very heavily censored, for kids type anime, and experiencing the uncut version of it. And this is just one of those songs that I remember being in my parents' living room and the place I grew up with for many years. Back in Long Island, and sitting on the floor looking up at the big TV and slipping on the next DVD in my crappy bootleg box set and everything, and listening to this one quite a few times. So the next bit, however, is of course right after that, going from the bootleg DVD box set era to the fan sub downloading off a BitTorrent era. Sad to say. And again, please support the official release. This is Shining Ray by Jeanne d'Arc from One Piece. I do not remember what number opening this is, because my God, there were so many back in the day, and it's so bizarre to think that now we're finally back to an era where One Piece has ending songs again after all that time of not having any. But this was of the again, there were lots of ones that I did enjoy from back then, but this one I love. I would listen to the full version of this one a million times on the old MP3s that I used to download. And then funnily enough, a number of years later, by the time I was in college and they got up to doing the dubbed episodes on DVD and going back and redubbing them in English, like they did with Yu Yu Hakusho, and I loved the Shining Ray, find your brand new way, a never-ending story to be together, I'm gonna go wherever you go, my Shining Ray. I cannot remember for the life of me the name of the singer that did the English version, but gives me chills, and especially the way that they end the TV size version with the wherever you go, my shining ray, da-da-da. So good, such a great snappy way, really cool way to end the credits to an episode, and then going straight into the next episode preview as well. Love that. Of all the many, and it's funny because I feel so bad for not having a One Piece song on my top 10 openings, because like I said in that video, there's so many of them that I adore, but just not top 10. But when it comes to top 10 endings, this is absolutely one of those for sure. And the next one, okay, this is a strange one, but it's funny. This is the second time I'm going to mention a TTA reference in particular. This is one that it's so strange. It's not even associated with a show that I'm particularly a huge fan of. It was just kind of a product of this is on Adult Swim right now. It is an anime and I will watch it. Okay. And once again, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was an even shortened version of whatever it was, from whatever the actual TV size was. But this is Broken Wings by Tomoko Tane from Trinity Blood. Of all things, the show Trinity Blood. Not even remotely among my favorite anime ever. It was just a show that was on, that was edgy and cool and on Adult Swim. It was in that era when Fullmetal Alchemist was really popular and whatever. But for some reason, I just liked it. And I realized eventually, this is actually in English. It's just sung with a very heavy Japanese accent. I can't really give much more info beyond that as to why I liked it, but the reason that it's also on here is because apparently back when I was watching the show and listening to the song, I liked it enough that I made it the last song that you hear in TTA. I chose for, I was using a song called Depend on You, which was from a video game, an RPG called Thousand Arms, I believe, which was another Ayumi Hamasaki song. That was, I used that on as the ending credits theme for the third season of TTA, but in the final episode of TTA at the time, I used Broken Wings as the ending credits, which therefore made it the last piece of music that you hear in the show. I guess it was simply because I liked the song enough that I felt that it was fitting enough for the kind of bummer downer ending to the way that the show ended at that time. I did go back later in the archives that I've put up on YouTube. I went ahead and I put in a remix of Depend on You by Omi Hamasaki that I'd never heard until more recent years. I had that kind of substituted in there as, because I felt that would make more sense. But I wanted to include this in here on Posterity. There were a couple other endings that I did really like that I think could have maybe even gone in this spot. But I realized I didn't like those more than this one in the end, so they didn't quite make the cut as a result. But yeah, so this is probably the strangest kind of out of place one to be on here, because it's the show itself is not like a big, beloved classic for me necessarily. Although I say that, the next show and the next, one that I picked is not necessarily, like an all-time favorite show of mine, but there's a particular reason why I Wanna Go to a Place by Rie Fu from Gundam Seed Destiny is on here. Not only because the song itself I think is really good. I like this more than the Bleach first ending that Rie Fu did that I'm forgetting the name of. That's like that's I believe is also half in Japanese and half in English. But it was because of the way that it was utilized in the show. Gundam Seed Destiny is the Dragon Ball GT of Gundam. It was the sort of unnecessary sequel series for Gundam Seed, which had a pretty decent enough ending. By that I mean ending to the story, to the actual show. Gundam Seed Destiny was a very needless, kind of silly continuation of Gundam Seed that I collected entirely on DVD and I own somewhere back home. But I will say, there were, Gundam Seed is known for its, extremely intense melodramatic moments where characters melodramatically die. And often what would happen is episodes would end in characters dying melodramatically. Or seeming like they end like with a character dying, even if maybe they might have actually survived. But I can think of, I think at least maybe 2 or 3 episodes of Gundam Seed Destiny that end with what they would do with the ending themes to Gundam Seed and Gundam Seed Destiny is that they would start playing the kind of beginning of the song right as the episode itself, like the footage of the episode was starting to get to the end of it, and then as the actual lyrics would kick off and the proper melody would go off and everything, then it would cut to the credits sequence, which were most of the time just slideshows again. So Gundam Seed did that really well, where they would end on some kind of really cool fucking melodramatic moment that kept you guessing. The thing with this song in particular is there were 2 major moments, which was Stella. Okay, well, I guess spoiler if you give a shit about Gundam Seed Destiny, which I doubt much of any of you listening to this do. Stella, one of the kind of rival characters who is the love interest to the lead guy, or at least who was assumed to be the lead guy at the time, Shin Asuka, she dies in his arms and he screams Bloody Mary out to the sky dramatically right as the episode ends. And similarly, there's a scene where then a few episodes later, Shin gets revenge by allegedly killing Kira Kira Yamato for killing Stella, and then it cuts to Atherin seeing on a screen, assuming that his best friend is dead, and he screams Kira right as this song is about to kick up. And I went back before I was watching. Before I was working on the Gundam Seed Freedom movie, which I got to write the English script for. Prior to that, I was rewatching all of Gundam Seed Destiny because I hadn't watched the show in years by that point. Since I knew the movie took place after Seed Destiny, I wanted to refresh myself on whatever had happened to the story by that point. I remembered getting up to those particular moments, and I forgot how really intense and impactful they were. As much as the actual story of Seed Destiny is kind of a bunch of trite, admittedly, this song was very, very well utilized in playing into the effectiveness of how dramatic those scenes were to end an episode off of. even still knowing what was going on and what the story was going to end up being, because I had seen it already, I still felt the impact of like how, like, kind of like with Dearest before, where like it just makes you feel sad by the end of an episode and gasping for more, for the next episode to come out as soon as possible, the next DVD or whatever. And in my case, I didn't have to worry about that. So, but that's a strange one. But yeah, that sensible to me. The next one is probably not that surprising, because everybody loves Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal has had many good endings. I went back and re-listened to a bunch of them and realized there weren't that many that I adored. But this one, Shunkan Sentimental by Scandal, from specifically Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. This, I think, is one of the best songs that FMA has, like, in general. They utilized this one really, really well as well. They had, I think, a few episodes also end with like the beginning of the melody of this song starting up before an episode would end and go into the actual credits as well. This one is just cool. This one is also, I would say, actually, of maybe all of the ones that I have on here on the list, is the most well animated, I would say, because a lot, like I mentioned, a lot of these they're just slideshows or like pretty limited, like looping animations of like people running or whatever. But this one had a lot of really good shots in it. Even just like the shot of the two hands kind of like caressing each other towards the end of it. Even that looked really beautiful. So not much to say about this other than just it still sticks in my mind. It's one of the most memorable FMA songs to me, like when I think of the show, for sure. I mostly think of the openings, of course, but this one pops up and it was definitely among the top 10. So not much to say about it otherwise. That's the final one, and this is funny to think that it's the one and only one on this list that has anything to do with my career in anime as a voiceover actor. But as I was watching Hunter x Hunter and hearing Hyori Itai by Yuzu, and listening to this song for the entirety of the Chimera Ant arc, and then a good chunk of the end of the show with the final arc that they did after that. I love not only how good this song is, I thought it was super clever how they like divided it up into like two different sort of like versions of itself to make it into two different endings, and they utilized the way that it kind of like seeps into the end of an episode very well in the same way I described about the last two songs like previous to this on this list. I like watching this show week to week, even as I was recording on it and being an actor on it as well. I was really affected by how well that they utilized this as like adding to the drama of what, like, it elicited that same kind of relationship that I had with ending theme songs to the shows that I grew up with in the late 90s and early 2000s, and they take up the majority of this list. This is the most recent song that was able to elicit that kind of feeling for me. I was really, it made me really extra proud to be part of a show as good as Hunter x Hunter, that like it had such an effective, kind of like ending song to it in that kind of way, you know what I mean? This one very quickly earned its top 10 spot, because, and also it's definitely, of all the recent anime ending themes that I've listened to in the last, I don't know, maybe 10 years, I think this is the one that I've listened to the most, like just in my spare time as like something for pleasure, is listening to the full version of this, and then to find out that the way that they divided it up into two endings, I thought was super clever and everything. That's really it. Not super complicated. Those are all that I have. Funnily enough, this is actually about as long as the endings one that I did a little while ago. So how about that? But and it's kind of ironic because with Tome, I had exclusively an ending theme song and not an opening theme song to it. It's so bizarre to think about. I'm a bigger fan of openings than I am of endings, but just unexpectedly, the Tome 2011 show ended up having 2 ending songs that were treated more kind of like opening style songs, the way that I produced them, but they were put at the end. It was a weird sort of thing, I guess, in that sense. But yeah, I hope that with shows that I continue to watch, like maybe even whatever Daima's like ending theme is, that maybe I'll still develop those kind of like viewer relationships with an ending theme like that. But yeah, that's already it. That's going to wrap this up. So of course, as with last time, I would love to know, everybody out there, what your favorite anime ending themes are. Please, in the comments below, let me know if you've got a top 10 list or otherwise. I would love to know some other ones, even from some of the same shows that I picked stuff from. If you think that there are songs that are better, or from other shows that maybe like you've actually sat, like recent shows that you have actually watched the endings to a lot more often and have developed that kind of relationship with, like I talked about for those early ones. I would love to know. So that's going to do it for now. Thanks very much for listening, and I will catch you all on the November Kirblog, whatever that one may be. So once again, be sure to check out patreon.com/Kerbifer if you want to contribute potential topics to the next monthly Kirblog that I do. Thanks very much for your support, and catch y'all later.